Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Hourlings podcast project. My name is Martin Wilsey and I'm your host. Tonight our topic is going to be author web pages, and David's going to be leading the discussion. David, take her away.
Sure. When you talk to authors, especially if you talk to authors at conventions, you'll find a lot of them saying things like, you really need to have an author presence. You need to have an author website. But they don't typically talk about, well, what does an author website have? Why do you have to have one? So I'm going to toss that out to our panelists. Our first fundamental question is, why should we have an author website? Shay, I'll toss it to you first.
I think you need a landing point for people to get to who you come in contact with who are interested in your books. And not everybody has social media. A landing point like a website allows you to customize it with where do you buy my book? What am I about? What's my deal? And if you don't have that landing point, you really miss out on an opportunity to gain a reader or a fan. Because there has to be a next step after the handshake, after you meet them. That's my opinion.
All right, Jeffrey?
Absolutely. I mean, it is perfect for entry point, because if you go to DuckDuckGo or Google and you Google the web page, usually you can find that. But if you Google it to a Facebook page, maybe it's not going to appear in the Google search first or second or third. But a web page usually is at the top of the Google search. So you want to be at the top of the Google search or the top of the DuckDuckGo search. And that's the way you do it. You customize your web page, make it you, and that is your representation on the internet. That is purely you with no interface to any other social media platforms.
All right, Marty, over to you.
I think that if I look at this from the reader's side, when, say I go to the library and I find a book I really enjoy, I will go out and do exactly that. I'll search for the author's webpage so that you can, in a concise way, find all that author's titles, find interesting things out about the author. And if I find somebody that I really like, I will sign up for their notification list to be notified automatically of the next time something's available, or something, or maybe he is going to have an appearance near me or something like that. So I always thought that author websites function kind of as a hub in your social, or in your author platform environment. It's a good place for lots of content that users will proactively come looking for.
And I'll agree with that. I think that the author website is actually the foundational piece of perhaps a larger author platform that includes social media and other things. But it's also the easiest thing for people to find. So if they've heard about this great new writer or this great new book, or they've read something by you that they like, and they want to know more, where do they go? They go to your website. So this is your opportunity to connect with a reader at the most basic level and say, here I am, and here's my books, and here's a little bit about me. And perhaps send them on to with links to some platform where they can buy your books. I think that's the basic connection right there. And the foundation everything else is built on top of.
Yeah, I'll never forget, I was camping one time, and I had read all the books I had brought with me, and one of my friends tosses me my very first Terry Pratchett book. Right? And it was awesome, so I went to Amazon thinking, oh, I got to buy some of these books. And the weird thing is, it is like hard to discover what order you should read these books in, or any of that. So yes. A quick search, finding the author website, makes all of that shenanigans a lot easier.
Yeah, especially if what you discovered was the Discworld series.
Right.
It's a series. It's like a series. All interconnected.
Yeah. And of course, I read a book right in the middle of Night Watch. Yeah, it was called Night Watch.
Yeah, that's one of the good series about the city guards.
Yes, and that was It was hilarious, and it was great world building. And I jumped in the middle, and I still loved it. And because I was able to find the website, and it's hilarious if you get a chance, go to it. And oh my God, it's amazing the stuff you can find out there. Anyway, getting off track. So
Right. Okay, so let's talk next about authors come in different flavors. I mean, some people are really advanced technically, and they're okay with all the social media and all the fancy content management systems and all that other stuff. And others maybe just want something, just a very simple presence on the web. So let's talk about, if you have to have just a few features, just the most basic website possible, what would that kind of author website, the most basic platform possible, consist of?
yeah, this is a really important topic, particularly for beginning authors that don't have a lot of titles to talk about.
Easy thing you can do, open up Microsoft Word. So you have Microsoft Word, or even Pages if you don't got that. And then start writing it up like a normal document. And then save as HTML. That HTML can form the basis of your web page. And the content you should provide is your name, a little bit about you, and then a little blurb about everything you've published. That's the very basic thing that you want to do, is you want to provide that platform where the user can go to that page and buy your books.
Right. I think there's an even easier way to do it, because most web hosting services have templates specifically for authors.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a lot of authors I know use templates that have been generalized for artists selling artwork, photographers selling photography stuff, writers and musicians. Any of those templates are appropriate for a basic website that a starting off author or somebody that just doesn't know where to, may not even be a beginning author, but wants to expand into a website.
Yeah, and if you can find those templates, absolutely, because they exist.
Right, and I think that if you're going to do one, this is a good time to start talking about the basic components that should be in the website. One of the first things I would recommend is a landing page for your titles, for your book or books, having somewhere that you can link other places and bring customers to, so they can see your titles and click on them and get an opportunity to buy them. I think that is a good place to start. And I think you should also have an author bio, because often the readers will come in looking, hey, what do I know about this guy? Because particularly fans, they want to get to know, hey, who is this dude? And so a good bio page is important. And as part of that, I also recommend getting a professional author photo for your bio page.
Definitely.
Your mileage may vary.
All right, Shay, what about you? Basic website, what are the features?
I'm looking at my website right now. I'm just going to tell you what I have. A very basic website. It is static. It is a template that no longer exists, which I cherish. So I refuse to, any sort of update I do will no longer make me eligible for this template. It's that old. But I have a homepage, which is very visual. It has a big picture of an inkwell and then a big picture of my book cover. And that's my homepage with a bunch of bio links and just a little bit of like, hey, welcome to my space on the internet. Have a good time, that kind of thing. Then I have an about page, which is just my little bio, nice and polished. A couple of links to interviews as well. Then I have a book page, which is a jumping point to, as Jeffrey was saying, blurbs to books that I have in the works or that have been published, and they all have bio links, and little bio of like, what's the genre? This genre is fantasy. This is published by Macmillan, or this is published by an anthology, etc. And a contact page for people to contact me. you know, for whatever reason, for complaining, for commenting, for saying we
Praising.
want to work together, you know, whatever. So in conclusion, home, about, books, contact. That's it.
The
Yeah,
other-
contact us is a real important one too.
Absolutely.
I left that off my list.
I was going to add it if Shay didn't. Personally, I think you need a contact page because if opportunity comes knocking, you need to get a way to contact you.
And it makes your fans feel more connected to you because they feel they can reach out to you if they have a question. They may not, but they just feel more welcome.
In fact, on my contact page, I have a picture of me golfing, and it says, even though I'm probably out golfing, I'd love to hear from you. And then it has
Nice.
a form that you can embed right into the website. I don't even have to put an email out there in the world if I don't want to. It is a
And
contact
folks-
form that will go right to my email. So easy.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say, folks, Marty and I can attest, Shay is a very good golfer.
And Shay, I think what you have is a perfect example of a very basic author website that has the features you need and nothing more. And that's fine. There are lots of people out there that don't want to blog, don't want to do newsletters or mailing lists or other features. And if
Right.
it's not something you really want to do or are comfortable doing, you shouldn't force yourself to do it.
Well, that's
So I
a
think
really
that's
good
the
point.
basics of a website. It's about you. It's about your books.
yeah.
It's about how to contact you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point you make, David, because
That's
when we're talking about
right there.
webpage, we're not talking about blog. We're not talking about making, a cat picture of the day or anything like that. You're not required to do that. All we're talking about is putting your work out there, letting people know how to find you, telling people who you are, and allowing them to find you. And then anything else is value add. It's just value add.
All right, now we're going to take it to the next level, though, because now we're interested in, let's say, doing dynamic things or collecting email addresses. So let's upgrade this to top-notch professional website with all the bells and whistles. What kind of features do we have? And I'll start with Marty this time.
Yeah, the first couple of features I would add. I believe in blogs. Add a blog for your website. Also, I would have a mail list sign up. What I mean by that is it's basically a form that you can have readers provide their email address and they can be added to your notification list. And a lot of times I will give a free short story or audio story or something else as a reward for somebody to sign up for the website. Let's see, what else would I add for stepping it up? A news or an events section.
Mhm.
I kind of
Like a
do all
calendar?
that through my blog, but a lot of other authors actually specifically keep an event section. You know, I'm going to be book signing at this location on this date. It's important. That's one thing that you have to constantly maintain. Keep in
Yep.
mind that the bigger your website gets, the more important it is to stay fresh.
Absolutely.
Well, I
And
would
there's
say,
a lot of resources you can do for that because,
yeah,
you know,
I just
prep
want to
for
say,
this. What's that?
I just want to say, I think even a basic website needs a little bit of maintenance.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
When you come out with new books, they need to be added to your website always.
Yeah, and prepping for this, I was looking at some of my favorite authors, and I was getting ideas. Because there's like, they have press kits, prepackaged press kits for their new releases, for instance. I really should do that. There's links to merch, like
Mhm.
swag, coffee mugs, and
Mhm.
T-shirts and
Mhm.
stuff. I do that kind of stuff, but I don't put it on my webpage. It's probably a good idea just to help people find it.
Absolutely.
All right, Jeffrey, go for it.
Well, one thing that I really like, I mean, for my old webpage, not my author webpage, but I'm going to probably set it up with my author webpage as well, is that every time I post, I can have it simultaneously go out as a series of tweets, go onto my LinkedIn, and go on to my Tumblr. as well as copy the link manually, because Facebook doesn't allow it automatic, but copy the link manually, go to Facebook, or connect it to a Facebook page.
Jeffrey, we'll lump that feature in as social media integration.
Right.
Yes, there's so many social medias you can do, and I've just named a few of them, but believe me, having that and having links to your social media as well on your webpage is very handy and very professional. It makes your webpage look like you have a presence and you're out there.
As we said before, your author web page becomes your hub.
Exactly.
It is the single clearinghouse for pointing to everything about yourself as an author. And that's links to your social media, links to your books to buy, links to interviews, like Shay said, links to everything, links to podcasts that you might sit on.
Mhm.
I also want to mention, it's the one thing that can't be taken away by corporate fiat.
Right.
If Facebook is down, or if Facebook policy decides to ban your Facebook page, et cetera, your author is one thing that is always there.
Absolutely.
A guaranteed presence that you control.
For the most part. I mean, you still have to worry if your ISP goes out of business. You'll have to do a little extra work for that.
You know, zombie apocalypse, you got to worry about that.
Yeah. But it is very, very rare that happens.
Also, asteroid strikes.
Yeah.
That could ruin your whole day.
Indeed. Yeah. All right, Shay.
Oh boy, you're asking the most basic website owner what a fancy website would look like for an author. In fact, I'm going to read again from my own website, my homepage. It says, I've had this adorable little slice of internet since like 2009. I know it's really old and basic looking, but so are raisins. And I don't hear you talking shit about them. And that is, I stand by that statement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with old and basic looking.
Okay.
However, I know
although
that
you do give away free puppies on your website.
I do give away free puppies. Yes. Okay, this is the thing. On my website, there's this little like button that when you click it, nothing happens. But the button says, click to receive a puppy. So you just keep clicking it and clicking it and clicking it and nothing happens. And that's one of my favorite features on my website. Anyway, so a fancy website. I would say something that has some movement, like maybe a book trailer video that you can play on your homepage, or even like a ticker, or some kind of visual movement would be a fancy thing to add. I know we already talked about an event calendar, newsletter, that kind of thing. That's also something you could add to your website. But yeah, something more visual. Book trailers are really like taken off.
Underrated. It's the drug dealer model. If you have free stories out there, people get a chance to try your work, and if they like it, they'll buy more, just so they can get their fix. Social media links, icons, et cetera, those should be part of your website. Again, so your website functions as a hub of your author platform. Email sign up. I totally agree with Marty on this. You need to collect emails if you can. It's a way for you to contact your readers directly. And again, it's a way that you control rather than having some social media giant control it for you. I like events or news, as Marty called it. If you're the kind of person who goes to conventions and or sells books at festivals and stuff, man, that should be plastered all over your website. Not only that, you should be plastering pictures of yourself doing these things on your website. Let people see what you're doing. Makes you look like a real writer, and it gives people interesting things to know and to see about you.
David, what about like testimonials?
Testimonials are awesome. That's third-party content that basically says, "Hey, this is a great book." You can't beat a third-party recommendation. Other features, anything we've missed?
I got a couple other recommendations that aren't specific features, but I also believe that the website style itself should be aligned with your brand. I mean, if you really should have a consistent brand for the books that you're providing, and convey the genre of the stories. You go to my website, it only takes you 2 seconds to know, oh, this guy's all about science fiction. And so I think that the style and the genre that it conveys should be obvious right out of the blocks. Another recommendation that I found very useful is when you're developing your website and periodically have the website peer reviewed. Now, it's like a beta review for your books. Every now and then, get a set of people together to give you feedback on your website. What's working, what's not working, what needs to be added, things like that. I have found recommendations just based on folks sending me emails. People now want a timeline page on my website. So I've been doing this to my beard, thinking about, how could I execute that? And I probably will do it.
Books or a timeline for your series? Marty, a timeline for your books or for a particular series?
The books and where the short stories fit in amongst them.
Oh, yeah.
That makes
Because
sense.
I think your time travel book would be a very interesting timeline.
Yeah, that's going to be completely independent. That's a segregated book. It could have a little thread of it touch out to the future. But
Dave, can I talk? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Dave, can I talk a little more about the books page, I think website? So I recently made a change with my books tab, and I changed it from, I used to have my books in order of the ones I first wrote to the ones that I last wrote, and then I flipped that around. So now my more recently written books show up first, which I think is, I suggest that for readers, because likely those are the readers you're going to be encountering as you're doing book signings and meeting people, and so I think that's one good thing to do.
Plus, your writing typically gets better as you go forward in time.
Yeah, sure. I think I have 8 right now, and 8 tabs for books, all different series. I have them organized by series. I don't have a different tab for every sequel to a series. I have one tab for one series, and every single tab has the same features. It has title, genre, word count, publication status, a picture of the cover, a 1 to 2 paragraph blurb, and then 1 sample chapter. And that is the same formula for every single tab of my books.
I'm going to quibble with you a little bit. I don't think readers care about word count. They may care about pages, but
I put that there, Dave, because not all of them are published, and so that's something that agents look for. How long is it? So I would push back on that one more time. Say, if it's an unpublished piece of work, that's an important piece.
See, that's a subtly different audience for your website.
Sure.
That is.
Sure.
But I want to mention one other thing in terms of your pages for your books. Don't just put an Amazon link. Put a Books A Million link. Put a Barnes & Noble link. Put a Powell Books link. If you can find your book on other online retailers, put that too, because some people just refuse to buy from Amazon.
Started doing that. So I've started having landing pages that list the most prominent venues where my books can be bought, because I have run into people who want to buy my books but don't want to buy them at Amazon, and it's not my call to tell them what to like. It's just my call to tell them where they can buy it. Okay, so in general, I think there's maybe some things to remember or some tips that we can give people. I'll start out with one. I think writers should invest in a domain name. It makes your website look a lot more professional if you have a domain name that's like davidkeener.org or martinwilsey.com, or you have it. Any other tips?
Yeah, I have that as well. I have scmcgalley.com instead of like .weebly.wix.whatever.com.
Right.
And if you're paranoid like me, you'll have jeffreycjacobs.com, .org, and .net.
Yeah,
going to the
yeah,
same
yeah. I
site.
mean, it's never a bad idea to snatch up a domain name so no one can copy you. One
Mhm.
other thing that I did a while ago is I invested in making a little logo for my my website, which is in the top left corner and which also appears on the address bar when
Yep.
people go. So and it's just a little inkwell. I don't know, it's kind of like an abstract looking inkwell.
Yeah.
Gold.
Go
ahead.
Sorry, I didn't. No, I was just going to say this.
Yeah, that's what we're talking
That's
about
what I
with
thought.
branding. That's
Yeah.
that's classic branding.
Yep.
That's branding. Let's see. Any other tips?
Well, I mean, I want to mention, even though please do not think that you have to have a web page just like J.K. Rowling did during her books, where you had nice flow flash fiction with games and everything. Yes, she had a team of Swift writers to do that. You don't have that. Don't worry about that. Don't compare yourself to something like that. You're just trying to get your information out. Don't worry. If you just have a web page that's flat and lists your book and how to contact you and your little bio, that's you've got there. And we're just going to tell you how to get it better with the blog or with the linking to your Facebook or anything like that.
I think there's something else to remember there. And this is true just about for everything. Your author website probably starts out relatively small. It'll grow over time as you add more features and more capability.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you expand out into landing pages, and then you decide that you have to have a series page as well with a timeline, et cetera, et cetera. So don't be worried if your website starts out a little bit small. It's
Right.
most likely going to grow over time. And those big fancy websites that you see, unless you're J.K. Rowling, you probably didn't build them all at once.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You probably don't have a team like she does. But a little JavaScript hither and thither, maybe you can have a little fun.
Well, here's the thing. Some people aren't comfortable doing any of this themselves.
Absolutely.
It is possible to find a web developer that's modestly priced.
Mhm.
It really is, especially
Mhm.
if you tell them exactly what you want and it is fitting within the constraints of templates. Because somebody that's a web developer and you tell them, I want an author site and I want a bio page and I want a contact page and a page to list my titles, and I want it to be easy for me to add new titles in the future by myself. You could get a developer to build that for you in a weekend for $300.
Yeah.
So, because
I
some
agree.
people just can't do it themselves.
Yeah,
They
there are
wouldn't know
people
where
like
to start.
people
So-
like me that were programming HTML from 1992. You know.
Well, everybody is not like that, Jeffrey.
No, I know, but I'm just saying you can
Seriously.
hire someone like that.
You can't make recommendations to people when 90% of them would not be able to accept that recommendation.
Right.
I would venture to say that 98% of the writers out there are not going to be comfortable with HTML.
I wouldn't recommend it. I would
JavaScript.
not recommend it. That's
But
why I
doesn't-
mentioned doing
Right.
it Word or getting a
Here's
template.
the thing. There was a point where I had a professional website completely built, but I had neglected to tell them to make it very easy for me to add new titles. And every time I had to add a new title, I had to go back to them to add it. I don't recommend that, because if you start writing professionally, you're going to start putting stuff out faster than you want to bother going back to a developer. And
Yeah, don't become beholden to someone to make your updates.
If it takes you more than 10 minutes to do a simple update to a page, then there's something.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Dave, that maybe another thing is like services that you offer. Like, you know, if you do a speaking if you say, I'll come to schools and speak to the, I don't know, the English department, and put your prices or put how to book you, like book me is an interesting tab to have on your fancy website.
And I actually have that because I do speak at conferences, do writing workshops, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a whole media page on my website devoted to workshops, links to my workshops, and you know, contact me if you'd like me to give a workshop.
Right.
Yes, that is valid. There's also other writers who do different other types of writing, you know, ad copy and stuff like that in between their novel gigs, just to make money.
Or editing. I do editing services, but I kind of slip that into my contact page. Like, hey, I also edit, so let me know if you want. You know, let me know if you want.
And free puppy services.
And free puppies.
There you go, the free puppy button.
Come to my website, everyone, and get a free puppy.
Bing, bing, bing.
On that note.
On that note, do we have any last tips for what can be on an author website? Otherwise, I think we're just about done.
The only other thing I would add is I recommend that the navigation be kept simple. You should never be more than 2 clicks away from anything on
a really good point.
Website, author website, or any other, really, I would think. But that keep it simple, especially in the beginning, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah, keep the interface simple, but also keep the content as simple as you can manage. As we've mentioned before, you do not want to spend an entire weekend, every weekend, maintaining your web page. If you're going to do a blog, make sure that your blog is something that you can maintain. And if you can't maintain it, maybe you shouldn't have a blog. If you can put the time in, do put the time in. But if you can't put the time in, scale it down a bit.
And our final comment is have one.
Yes.
Just have a website.
Definitely have one.
Have one,
Absolutely.
and also make it easy for people to find your books and buy them.
Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely.
And with that,
They can find you on DuckDuckGo.
Okay.
Another finally
Thanks, guys.
scripted
Another good
my
episode,
friends.
and we'll see you all next week.